Welcome to Jets Rewind. I'm Marty Schupak in Valley Cottage, New York. I'm with my two close friends, Ray Clifford, who's out in Marysville, Ohio, and Ralph Schrade, who's up in we're
Belmont. I'm in
Belmont,
Belmont today. Yeah,
Massachusetts.
yeah,
Where
yeah.
actually the Yankees are there now. They're going to be in Fenway Park this weekend, which should be fun. Should be very interesting. Ray, how you doing out there?
Good, good. Enjoying some good weather and just trying to wait for some real football to start up.
Okay, and Ralph, how about you up in
I'm good. And I just thought of another topic that I wanted to bring up and get Ray's expert opinion on this.
Oh,
Uh,
Lordy.
Must be Jets who went to Ohio State, right, Ralph?
yeah, well, it's close. It's about C.J. Stroud.
Okay, great. We're going to discuss it, but before we do, Ralph, you have a classic
Oh my
trivia
God.
question, right?
Yeah. So in the Jets' history, which is I guess 64 years, they have had 20 head coaches, and that includes Mike Hollowback, who had one game as a head coach and lost it, and Ken Shipp, who had 5 games and lost 4 of them. The question is, how many of those 20 head coaches had winning records with the Jets, and who are they? You,
Interesting.
you can throw out the number right now if you want, and I'll tell you if it's what it is, and then you can think through the rest of the show.
Is it
Three.
three? That's what I was going to say.
2. How's that? How's that for a pathetic statement on a history of a
I thought three
team?
was pathetic.
Okay, and
Oh, okay.
I think I know definitely one of them by default.
Yeah.
And the other, I think I know who the other one is too. But let's get into this because the Jets just wrapped up their required minicamp, required, I guess, for everyone but our quarterback. And of course, the Jets being the Jets, a lot of things happen. And the first thing we have to discuss is this Hasson Reddick deal where he had 1 year left on his contract and he decided not to show up for a mini camp and the required mini veteran camp. I mean, he didn't show up for OTAs. And from what I read, it's like they had permission to discuss with him about a contract. And I thought I had heard that it was that they were going to play out this year and then see how he does and then sit down for another contract. That's kind of what I heard. Ray, did you hear anything different or?
No, that's how I thought it was gonna. I thought they were either maybe later in the season or after the season going to be really talking about an extension, not right off the bat.
Yeah, I had thought, and Ralph, I want your opinion that he agreed to play out this season, and they didn't say it. I haven't heard from any of the Jet squads, but I kind of think this was kind of a surprise to them, Ralph.
Uh, we don't know what his motivation is. In my opinion, if I'm Hassan Reddick, maybe he's just thinking, I don't want to be running around. The less I run around, the less chance I get injured. I mean, I feel the same way about Rodgers. Everyone's uptight about him missing 2 practices. I'm happy. The less he's out there, the happier I am.
Ray, Ralph is like me. We want the NFL to go back to like 12 games. That would be ideal. Go ahead, Ralph.
Well, so I have to feel that Joe Douglas knew what he was getting into. Now, whether he's going to handle it the right way or not, I don't know. I mean, or we're gonna each discuss whether we think he should be signed to an extension or not. I personally do. I like talent. I don't care that if he can make the numbers work.
Right.
You
So
know,
you're not concerned he didn't show up for
No,
this?
I'm not concerned. And he tweeted something about how these rumors are totally out of control. The guy is, he's going to be 30. He's not going to sit out and turn down 14 million bucks, then go to be a free agent when he's missed a year and he's 31 years old. That would be a tough look for him. Remember how Le'Veon Bell worked out when he skipped a year.
Right. Ray, were you disappointed he didn't show up for minicamp?
No, I was. I'm just surprised that he that he's pushing the I want a new contract thing right off the bat. When I thought the same thing. I thought they kind of had a agreement worked out, and it makes me wonder if his agent just, said, yeah, oh yeah, that's fine. And then, now that
Right.
once the deal's done with getting him from,
Right,
all of a sudden
yeah.
they go, oh, now we're gonna deal with it now. But the mini camps mean nothing. They made the biggest deal out of Aaron Rodgers, and I was like, why would I care about that? That he didn't show. He didn't show up. When did he show up for the last ones in Green Bay before he came here? I mean, I think he skipped the prior 5 or 6 years of.
Right,
So
right.
that meant.
Look,
Plus, I don't want him overdoing it yet.
yeah.
Let him get.
Well, Ray, do you think the Jets should extend him, and do you think Douglas will extend him? And then I want Ralph to answer that.
Hmm.
I think kind of what Ralph touched on. Yeah, as long as it fits. I don't want him extending him at the expense of somebody else that we might need because if he's wanting too much money, it's just not going to work for. We don't have a boatload of cap space at the moment. So, I mean, we can't just go crazy signing guys like we did last year or the year before. But I'd like them to extend him though. Yeah, definitely. It just
Yeah.
has to fit the framework of the rest of the
Right.
team. and
How
everything.
about you, Ralph?
Yeah, I would too. I like talent and he's talented. And I think he's got a motor and he likes football. And I think he's got a few good years left in him. He's not going to have a weight problem ever. Can they fit him? We've got all of these guys looming in the next year.
That's what scares me.
And of course, none of us knows what the cap deal is with the Jets, except for the people on the inside. But if they can, make it work, he's going to ask for the moon. I don't think he's quite in the league of a guy like Micah Parsons or TJ Watt or Myles Garrett, but he's the next level down. And so he should get a lot of money, but it's just a matter of whether Douglas can make it work. And considering the other guys we're going to talk about in a few minutes, who they think are those big four
Right.
that were drafted a few years ago are going to be re-signed. Yes, I definitely want it, and I think he will try.
Right. Well, do you think, I'm thinking if they do it, I don't think it's going to be more than like a 3-year with a 2-year guarantee. And
Yeah, that sounds right.
That sounds like it would be fair. I kind of think, like, from what I saw, he went through the same thing with the Eagles last contract, and Howie Roseman just didn't want anything to do with him, I guess. We all will agree, and we've gone over this a billion times, that none of this would have happened if 2 years ago they were smart and signed Bryce Huff early in the season or in the middle of the season, which was a mistake. But that's water under the bridge.
Yeah, well, 2 years ago, Bryce Huff hadn't,
Right.
His numbers were not warranted.
Early last year, early in 23 is really they should have signed. 2 years ago, if we remember, we were screaming because he was inactive the first couple of games.
Yeah.
And we were going crazy. But the one thing I'll say is, where did he go to school? Temple?
Yeah, and he'll be better than the other Temple guy we extended about 10 years ago.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, who's that? Robbie Anderson?
No,
Yeah, no.
Wilkerson.
Muhammad
Wilkerson. Yeah.
Right. Robbie Anderson went to Temple too, right?
That's yeah.
Yes, I believe he did.
Is he still in the league, by the way, Robbie Anderson?
I don't know if somebody I know I think he was a free agent. I don't know if anyone signed him.
But my feeling is, look, he went to college in Temple. He played for the Eagles. He's going to be he's under contract with the Jets. He'll be 30. I don't think he's the type of guy to go like to Seattle or out to LA. I think he'd want to stay in this area. So I really believe the only teams he would look upon to sign would probably be the Jets, maybe the Eagles again, which they won't do, and Baltimore and Washington. So I don't think the Jets are in a bad position if my theory holds true. But we'll see what happens. We'll see how Joe Douglas handles this.
Well, one other thing real quick on that too, Marty, is that, the one thing we've touched on it before is we still don't know. Maybe we'll find out through Philly this year if Bryce Huff is more than just a pass rusher, which we know Reddick can play.
Yes.
Play the run and the pass, and he's more all around, at least at this point that we know of. So, signing Huff 2 years ago would have saw, we wouldn't be dealing with Reddick, but maybe we're getting a better all-around player if we can.
Right, and
Than what Huff would have been.
right, that's a great point too, because I'm sure Bryce Huff thinks he's great on the run, but I don't know if the Jets think he's great on the run.
Well, clearly they didn't, because the
Right.
kind of money he was asking for was a 3-down player, and I guess the Jets had him evaluated as not that. Whether that's correct or not, we'll find out, I suppose.
Right, and while we're talking, and just to do some house cleaning, the Jets, I guess it was yesterday, they signed Tack McKinley, I guess that's how you pronounce his name, who was a defensive end. I guess the last team he played for was Atlanta, and just like half the Jets roster, he's full of injuries. He was a former first-round pick. And before we got on the air, Calais Campbell signed with the Miami Dolphins. That's the guy I wanted. I would have loved to have him for like anywhere from like 18 to 25 plays a game. I really like that guy. He's always on the field. Ralph, do you know anything about this Tack McKinley?
Well, former first-round pick, and the thing about first-round picks is nobody talks about the one bonus is they just get chance after chance. This guy's hit like 5 or 6 different teams. I think he was on Dallas's practice squad last year, but teams are always going to take a look at a former first-round pick. His first 2 years with Atlanta, he was good, like 7 and 6 sacks, a bunch of tackles for loss, and then he just dropped off. I don't know if it was injuries or he stopped playing, but he's just been kicking around for the last 3 or 4 years. Didn't even play last year.
Right. Ray, do you think this is tied into the Reddick not signing or not showing up? Just some sort of insurance, though I can't see that contract guaranteed for 1 year. But Ray, do you think it's tied into Reddick? That's why they did it?
Maybe a little bit. I don't think they're trying to send him any messages or anything. I think it's just that guy was available and they wanted to kick the tires on him, see if he could add anything, as far as depth, I think is much.
Yeah, I think also that they are obligated to have 90 men on the roster entering training camp. So I think they need guys to fill out the bottom end. And like I said, a former first-round pick who had a couple of good years. Teams are going to kick the tires with him.
Right. Yeah.
I
Okay.
think a lot of these defensive guys really are interested in getting in Saleh's system too. I mean, because definitely it's a defense that a lot of these guys enjoy playing in. They excel in it a lot of times, especially the guys, if they have any pass rushing ability. I think that they're the guys with that love the solid defense.
I don't know if I'm overrating him, but I really have some high hopes for Will McDonald. I really believe he's going to make a nice jump this year.
Yeah, I expect it too. Yeah.
For the percentage of plays he made, he was very good quality at his position. I think on both the pass and the run, from what I've seen. So I really think he makes the jump. I think he's coming in stronger. And I think they're going to use him, on some more running plays. And let's say they did Bryce Huff, but we'll have to see how to divide up the snaps. As we all know, Robert Saleh loves the rotation.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ralph.
No, I was going to say that's one of the hallmarks of his defensive philosophy is,
right.
He wants to, 4 defensive ends so he can keep rotating. So he lost Huff and Franklin Myers. Picks up Reddick. I don't know if Michael Clemens falls into that. I hope not. Michael Clemens is about to turn 27.
Yeah, he's well, let me ask you quickly. Here's I just thought of. Okay, Ray, I'll start with you. Who has a better chance to get cut this year? What's his name? Who's the guy we just said?
Clemens.
Michael Clemens. Or is he Abanaconda? Who has a better chance to get cut this year, Ray?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'd say what's his name, and then Abanaconda is a close.
Michael Clemens, that's his name. Ralph, what do you think?
Everyone's got the arrow pointed down on Izzy. My hunch with Izzy is he'll break a couple of plays in preseason. He did last year before he got hurt.
Yeah.
And it'll be enough for the Jets to say, we should hide him somewhere. I think Sal likes Clemens. He likes the fact that he's an intimidating type character, but I think between Leonard Taylor and Braden what's his name? The guy from Michigan.
Mick, I know who you mean.
Yeah, I think they got a lot of guys to fill out the defensive line. I think Clemens is in for a battle.
Yeah, I agree. And we're going to get to the next one on the agenda.
McGregor, I think it's Braden McGregor.
Right,
Yeah.
Ed McGregor. And we're going to talk about all these Jet contracts that are coming up. But before we do, and I mentioned this before we went on the air, and I could be all off base, but I'm going to give this guy a mulligan. It's Keith Carter, the offensive line coach, and I'll tell you why. Everyone is been on this guy, and there've been a lot of tweets about him from former linemen, I guess, from Tennessee and even from some Jets. But if you guys remember years ago, the Giant coach, what's his name, who replaced who won a couple of Super Bowls?
Yeah,
Laughlin,
Tom Laughlin.
yeah, Ray, another what's his name?
Yeah.
Tom Coughlin.
Yeah.
He had a rough time. If you remember his first couple of years, he would run up and down the sidelines red with his arms flailing. He spent a lot of time and money getting a personal coach to kind of reinvent himself. And he maintains that's what turned his career around. Now, Keith Carter did something similar.
Yeah.
And he's going into this with a different attitude. And I'm hoping that he works out. So I just want to say, Keith Carter, I'm giving you a mulligan. You were on my garbage list of a couple of months ago. So I hope it works out.
Well, it's not, the Titans had some very successful years under him. Obviously, they had Derrick Henry.
Right.
But they had Ryan Tannehill was okay. And but they were pretty good. So, I think he's probably a decent coach. Last year was ridiculous with the injuries. He was really dealt a bad hand. He's got players this year, so he's got no excuses if they stay relatively healthy.
I think a lot of it, Ralph, was the way he related to
Oh yeah, definitely. I remember when he just arrived last year, some of the ex-Titans, Taylor Lewan for one, I couldn't stand playing with the guy. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, these guys, this is the 21st century now. That kind of stuff went over when Lombardi was around and Shula was around, but it doesn't work anymore.
Yep, that's right. Ray, any thoughts on this Keith Carter? I mean, we just hope he's becomes like the best offensive line coach in the league.
Sure. I mean, that's to me, every podcast, I think I talk about it. I think that's the key position of this team, and it's been for years, that will determine how far we go. Because as good as our defense is, we got to score some points.
Right.
Get some first downs at least.
Please, yeah.
Let's start with first downs, and then we'll worry about getting in the field goal range or touchdown range. But what's going to determine?
What killed me is, and I don't know how you felt, but last year, the last couple of years, on a first down, when there was a holding penalty, and it started out like 1st and 20, and with Zach Wilson, I just said this, they can't get a first down. It's impossible. With Tom Brady, you had good chances. And with Aaron Rodgers, had a shot. But when they had a penalty on first down, the offensive line, it was impossible.
Yeah, my feeling was if you got a penalty, just punt. less can go wrong.
We go further backwards.
A second down, quick kick. That's right. All right, let's move on. Next on the agenda, we have these contracts coming up. Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson, Breece Hall. Right now, I know DJ Reed, it's in the last year of a contract, but I'd rather talk about the 4 guys that we drafted first. So I guess, Ralph, I'm going to start with you because you invented the question.
Okay.
Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson, Breece Hall. Put a percentage on each of these guys if they'll get a second contract with the Jets. But I'm wondering, Ralph, we could do it that way, or out of the 4, do you want to prioritize 1 to 4? You want to do it that way?
Well, I think I think the percentages will reflect how they
Okay,
prioritize.
yeah, they will. Okay, go ahead.
I think Sauce Gardner's 100%. There's no question they're gonna re-sign him. I think Garrett Wilson about 90. They just, they don't really have another wide. Mike Williams is coming off an injury and he's 30. So yeah, I think Jermaine Johnson, maybe 65% chance. And I think Breece Hall's like a 50-50 shot. I think part of it will be what I'm assuming he comes out of this year healthy. If what they see in these two running backs that they drafted, if they see one of them as a potential number one back, then that might be leverage for them not to re-sign Hall.
Okay, Ray, what about you?
I never say 100%. So I said Sauce was 95%, but pretty much that's a lock. I mean, I can't imagine. And he came out, and said, I want to be a Jet for life. Now that could just be a lot of, PR blather, but at least he's saying he likes, he wants to be here rather than saying, I got to get the hell out of here. I had JJ a little higher, percentage wise. I have him and Garrett both around 85%, but if it comes down to one or the other, I think Garrett would be signed first. But I think if JJ has another year like last year, or even maybe improves on it, I think they're going to really, focus on getting him. I had Breece a little higher. I said 65%, but running backs, they aren't what they were. So, but if he has a monster year, it's going to be hard to say, no, we're not going to go after him. So, and then DJ, I said 50%.
You know what? I'm gonna look at this a little different, and like Ray, I don't think anything's 100%. For Sauce, I'm gonna say 90%. And I think next in line is going to surprise you is Jermaine Johnson. I just think they're so hard to get these, and I'm assuming he's going to improve. I'm going to say it's like 80%. And though Garrett Wilson is like probably my favorite Jet, I'm going to say just 50%.
Wow, interesting.
I just don't see it. I think the wide receivers, I think every year in college, there's so many great wide receivers coming out. I mean, I don't want them to let him go, but I think it's a 50-50 chance. And I'm sorry, Breece Hall, who we love, I know Ralph loves him. I think it's below 50%. I think it's 40%, just because, like Ray said, of the position. It's nothing personal against these guys. It's funny. It's like great when you hit in the draft, but then you get penalized in a way. It's just like for a quarterback. You develop a quarterback, and they got to get the quarterback contract. I kind of think the cap should exclude the quarterback, because you're being punished for a quarterback being developed on your team. And by the way, talking about quarterbacks,
Trevor Lawrence.
I'm
so glad the Jets didn't draft him.
Wow. Did you see that contract?
Marty, I'm telling you, and Jacksonville, they're sitting in such an awkward position, because it's like, he's not worth it. They know it. What are they going to do? Start from scratch again and maybe get someone as good? It's really a tough position to be in. I really think that the future is getting these guys in the mid rounds, developing them slowly, and it's like, oh my gosh, crazy. Thank God Zach Wilson stunk. We don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, we're good. It was a 5-year. $275 million contract.
$55 million a year, I think it comes to.
Yeah, and a lot of that obviously is there's a $37,500,000 signing bonus, and it was interesting, and I think you guys will agree. The first, I guess, last year 11 games, it looked like that contract was fair, but the last 6 games, talking about a guy stinking it up. Trevor Lawrence was so bad last year. I think out of 1 out of 6 games, he was okay, but he was pathetic. He was awful.
He had the most turnovers in the league, fumbles and interceptions. By the way, the next time you hear draft experts say this is a great quarterback draft, just tell them to shut up, because that draft was horrible. And the one with Joe Burrow, which nobody said was a great draft, is probably one of the 2 or 3 best of all time. So they don't know what they're talking about.
Okay. We talked about the rookies. Ray, I want to ask you, DJ Reed, who we all love. I thought he had like about 3 or 4 games in a row. He didn't look that great, but his contract is up this year. What are your thoughts about him now moving forward?
Well, I like him a lot. I think he's a good guy on the team. I think he's a leader and a guy who, helps the younger guys a lot. But he's not like, Sauce is one thing, and he's definitely not in that class. I mean, I think the Jets will extend him if it's, a reasonable contract, but I think they're always looking for his replacement. And so if somebody else comes along, I don't see any way they're going to spend a lot of money to keep him. If it's economical, I think they'd keep him because he's definitely, above, the average line. So I think he's well worth keeping,
Right.
but I don't think he's a must for them. And I think they're always looking for his next, the guy who can take his place.
Well, let me ask you this, put the pressure on you, Ray. I know his contract's not up this year, but who would you rather sign longer term, Michael Carter II or DJ Reed?
I want Michael Carter, but I think they'd have to find a replacement for Reed, which is important because as much as I like Carter, if we've got trash on the other side and Sauce on one side, we're going to get, somebody's going to get burned on a regular basis.
Right. Okay, Ralph, and what are your thoughts on DJ Reed?
I think it's very unlikely they resign him, maybe 20% chance. I would also take Carter over him because he's younger and he's probably would be cheaper. And I just have a hunch about this kid's stickers. I think this kid is I think he might be the real deal. I think I watched, I watched again his stuff in Canada. The guy's a great athlete. He just has great body control. He can jump.
Ralph, I was going to, by the way, I hate to interrupt, I was going to say the exact same thing. Even I was looking at the little film I was able to get a hold of from minicamp.
Yeah.
He made one play. He went in front of Lazard for an interception.
Yeah.
His hands were like, 4 inches from the ground. It was just an incredibly athletic move.
He did one yesterday where we undercut Jeremy Rucker.
Maybe that was it.
That was, yeah. It was he's got a feel for the ball. And, if he doesn't work out, I think next year they will use their first round pick on a cornerback. That's, they can't keep paying all these guys. No team can do it. The Super Bowl winning teams always have to let guys go. And I think Reed is one of the guys that makes the most sense to let go.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Next on the agenda, I'm going to name a few second-year players, and who do you think is going to have the biggest impact this season? Ralph, I don't know if I use the word biggest, biggest or any impact. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'd say any impact.
Zaire Bonds, Izzy Abanikanda, Carter Warren, Bernard Converse, or Zach Kuntz. Okay, Kuntz.
Kuntz.
I'm gonna start. I think it's gonna be out of all those Zaire Barnes. I think just because they don't have a lot of numbers as far as linebackers go, and though they're trying to build up this, what's his name, who's in and out, he had the
Jamie Sherwood.
Jamie Sherwood. I don't buy it. They're just saying, I don't buy it at all.
No.
Izzy Abanikanda, I think he'll be gone. Carter Warren's going to stick around. Bernard Converse, I don't know what's going on in him.
Nobody does.
Zach Kuntz, I'm not a huge fan. When he came out, unlike a lot of people, I think Ralph and I said we found him as a lumbering type of guy. And Kenny Yeboah, I've heard there's something about him they like. So I'm going to say all those. Not that he's have a big impact, but I'll say this: he's going to have a chance to make an impact. I'm going to say Zaire Barnes. Ralph?
Yeah, I agree with you on Zaire Barnes. Last year in preseason, he actually showed some talent. I just don't think they needed him at that point because they only really played 2 linebackers for the most part. The other guys, Bernard Converse, he's a mystery. I don't know if he'll make the team. Zach Kuntz, I think, is going to get cut. I think the guy stinks. he's dropping him in, you know, in mini camp, you know, I mean,
Right.
nobody's on him. It's like,
Yeah.
who else? Carter Warren, I know people were down on him. I don't really think I don't know if he's going to be a player or not, but you can't judge him off last year. He was hurt all of preseason
Right.
into the regular season, and he's a rookie, so and he gets thrown in. So I think the jury's still out on him. And was there one more? I
Izzy,
forgot.
we spoke.
Izzy, like I said about Izzy, I think Izzy's got one foot out the door, but if he breaks one or two in preseason, which he could easily do, then they're going to try and hide him somewhere.
Okay, and Ray, how about you?
Yeah, I thought Barnes was the main one, but I really think, you know, I'm interested to see what happens with Carter, because I don't really put a lot of, you know, weight on how last year went for all the reasons Ralph said. You know, I want to see if he makes a big jump or not, and if he does, that's a great thing for us.
Huge,
Right.
huge.
Right.
So
I'll say,
I'm really looking forward to will
Right.
he make an improvement, and that's what I'm hoping for.
Ray, I'll say this, he's another year removed from his surgery. And as
True.
Ralph pointed out, they flipped him to the opposite side on the offensive line. So I've heard good things, you know, from some reliable people about how he's doing in the OTAs and minicamp. So that would be a tremendous bonus. Out of those players, Ray, Barnes, Izzy, Carter Warren, Bernard Converse, and Kuntz, who do you think is going to get cut?
To me, probably Kuntz, but wasn't he on the practice squad all last
He
year?
was. They brought him up for the last game, if I
Wow,
remember
okay,
right.
yeah. For a little, for
Yeah.
an extra little in the paycheck thing at the end of the year. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think he's the most likely, but I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, if Izzy doesn't have a few
Yeah.
good plays, I wouldn't be surprised. And
I,
so
I don't think Bernard Converse is going to make the team either.
I don't really even, you know, I didn't pay attention to him a lot last year
He was
because,
hurt most of the year.
yeah, he wasn't
Yeah.
really a fact. So it's another one that I really can't say anything. I'm waiting for the, you know, the actual on-field stuff with, you know, maybe with other teams or, well, you know, whatever we get out of preseason games, but just to see if they do anything under, you know, with real, you know,
Right.
real action, you know, and that's what I'm waiting to see with these guys.
Ralph, the thing was Bernard Converse, they were talking to him as like a hybrid DB safety.
Yeah.
Just that re-signing Ashton Davis, and if this rookie from Canada works out, I just think it's a numbers game.
Yeah, they also brought in who was it? Hicks or something like that.
Oh, yeah, they
Another guy.
brought in someone else too from the 49ers.
Yeah.
Yeah, they like
So
him a lot.
there's just a lot of guys. Well, anyone from the 49ers Sal likes. You know, it's you know, you could be the water boy, and he's gonna give him a shot.
Except he doesn't like Deebo Samuel. All right, here we go. Let's move on. And you know, one of the players that really sparkled in the OTAs and minicamp was Xavier Gibson, which one of the reasons I was surprised that they were signing all these guys. I like this guy. I think he was going to make a jump, but who do you think, Ray, is going to have a more productive year, Xavier Gibson or Malachi Corley?
I think
I
Gibson.
might add that Corley, I think, is the only rookie that hasn't signed a contract.
Is that true?
I think it's
I didn't
true.
realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll look it up as Ray's answering.
He's still out there.
I think Gibson will, at least early on, be the more effective one, but I wouldn't be surprised if Corley's coming on by the end of the year if he is everything that, you know, you read that he is. I think if they start using him properly, I think he'll, as he, you know, gets comfortable in the system and everything, I think we'll see him take a big step in the second half of the season. I'd like to, but I think overall Gibson will have a more effective year, because I think he's the kind of guy that Rodgers kind of likes to have as an outlet kind of guy, and he'll make some plays for him. So, you know, I see him having a really nice second year.
Okay. Ralph, how about you?
I mean, I have high hopes for Gibson this year. I really think he'll make a jump, but I actually think Corley will probably have a more productive year, because I just think that he is you know, they're gonna find ways to get him the ball because, you know, number one, Rodgers seems to like him, and number two, obviously the scouting team, Joe Douglas, and you know, they have committed so much to this guy. And by the way, this guy's got really full of himself. I mean, some of the stuff that I hear, you know, he made a nickname for him and and Garrett Wilson, Smash and Dash. He even gave himself top billing with it. He hasn't done a thing in the pros. It's like he's like, I'm gonna be killed. I'm running over people. It's like, you know, I hope he doesn't get leveled in the first game. Turns into like the Hammer, Fred Williamson. He gets knocked out. You know?
Well, Ralph, you know, it's funny you say that because I heard a Jets broadcaster, and he was saying that what's his name again? What's his name again, Ray?
Worley.
No,
Keith
better.
Carter.
Better. It was Tony Adams is a budding superstar.
Oh, for God's sake.
Ray, I thought of Ralph. I almost drove off the road.
You know, the only player on the team that's actually going to be better than him is Jamie and Sherwood, probably.
Yeah, I wonder if Tony Adams missed the required camp, there would be a lot of screaming too, like with Aaron Rodgers.
I don't think anyone would notice. And well, they have to protect him, you know.
Yeah. Well, you know, Ray, the Jets do have, so Joe Namath was the first quarterback to pass for over 4,000 yards, and which is interesting. I think he did it in 14 games.
14 games.
Yeah, and that's still a Jet record. And Ryan Fitzpatrick holds the record for TD passes, 31. Out of those two records, which is Aaron Rodgers more likely to break this year? Remember, 17 games.
I think he can break them both. I think he could have, you know, I think, you know, if he had a year like they protect him and he has a year like he'd have in Green Bay, he'd easily break both. But I think the more likely one first would be the 4,007 yards because we're such a passing league. But, you know, I got to see how the offensive line, you know, protects him and stuff and gives him time when we're in the red zone and that. And I think he's got a good shot at both. But I think the first one to drop would be the 4,000 yards.
Okay, and Ralph, what do you say?
Yeah, I agree too. I mean, with 17 games, 4,000 yards doesn't come out to that much a game. It's crazy. And I'm probably gonna have 18 games one of these days, and there'll be a 6,000 yard passer at some point.
Remember when 1,000-yard rushers used to mean something?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's just incredible. It really is. By the way,
you need like 60 some yards a game now to get 1,000 yards or something.
right.
Pathetic.
Yeah.
I just want to mention, and this is a basketball note that I really felt it when this week Jerry West passed away.
Oh,
The great star from West Virginia, great Los Angeles Laker, and maybe even a better NBA executive. The guy was unbelievable. And, you know, he was a great player, and he just happened to be in that time when the Boston Celtics dynasty was rolling. But he was a phenomenal player without 3-point shots then. So I don't know if any of you guys have any thoughts about Jerry West.
Well, yeah, I mean, I lost him and Walton. Walton was one of my favorites. West, I watched clips of him with Frazier guarding him the other day, and I'll tell you, he could elevate Jerry West on his jump shot. You don't see guys doing that too much anymore. They're pushing him from 26 feet. You know, guy was an all-star every year. He had some personal problems. I know he suffered from depression, which was really sad. And one thing about him that I got a kick out of, when he was the GM, he said at a certain point, he couldn't watch the Lakers play. It was too stressful. He'd have to just find out the results. And I reached the point sometimes with my teams where it's hard for me to watch too. So I could relate to that.
That's it too. Ray, any thoughts on Jerry West?
Well, it's not a coincidence that he is the logo. So you know, he was, you know, the iconic player who, you know, he could pretty much do it all for a guard back then.
Oh yeah.
Game's so different.
Yeah.
But,
Ray, what are the chances that the WNBA has Caitlin Clark as the logo?
Well, the other players will be spitting on it.
Oh my God.
By the way, when I first started following pro basketball, The stars were Russell, Chamberlain, Robertson, Baylor, and West, and all of them except Oscar are gone. So
Yeah.
Oscar's hanging in there, Oscar.
Yes. I'm sorry, Ray, I interrupted. Yeah, but
Oh, no, that's okay, because I was just saying he was, I being a Knicks fan, but I still remember the two, times they faced off and the finals, and that was or was it two or was it
Three.
Three. That's right. They won 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those were awesome. I was really little then, so those are some of my first memories of basketball was West and the half court shot he hit.
Oh my God, that was about 90 feet.
They would have won the game.
They would have won the game and probably the series. It would have changed everything.
But anyway,
on a quick side note, and this isn't
right.
West. I checked my computer. It's even more pathetic now that you only need 59 yards a game to be a 1,000-yard rusher. I guess I was thinking the 17.
But the tough part is that nobody runs the ball anymore. So
no.
Yeah.
That's how easy it is.
Which is incredible. Ralph, we're going to get to our regular Who Do You Take feature and then the answer to trivia. We're going to wrap this up on Jets Rewind.
I just want to ask Ray about CJ Stroud.
Yeah. You had a question because Ray is our Big Ten expert, especially Ohio State.
He came out with this crazy rant about Aaron Rodgers. Did you hear about that the other day? He said, I'd rather have Eli Manning's career than Aaron Rodgers because he had 2 Super Bowls to 1. And he
all
just
about the rings.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, is that on a was he did he say crazy stuff when he was at Ohio? Why would he even get involved with that now? The guy's only played 1 year. Someone's going to take a shot at him when they play the Jets. They're playing the Jets this year.
He already took one last year. We took him out.
Yeah, that's right. They knocked him out last year. So,
it was a cheap shot by.
So was that anything typical of what he would do?
No, he wasn't. He really wasn't that kind of guy. But I think at Ohio State, as much as he was hyped up a lot, especially his last year there, he was still. There were so many good players in Ohio State being the program is. He just kind of was like, he said everything kind of like he did in his pressers after games last year. Everything was, pretty cool about what he said. Where I think his success last year, has emboldened him to.
Yeah, I think he better watch out because there have been other quarterbacks who've had good first years and disappeared. So
and unless you hate Aaron Rodgers or the Packers or whatever, and maybe the Jets now too, I don't know how you come to that.
Right. Someone was going to say, well, then Trent Dilfer, you take over at Dan Marino because he.
It's true. All right, Ralph. I'm sorry, Ralph. You have this my favorite category. Who do you take? It's become a feature and Marty's favorite. So why don't you take over?
All right. Well, we're setting the Wayback Machine with Mr. Peabody to the 20th century, and we're going to pick 2 defensive linemen. Who do you take? Marty Lyons or Jeff Lageman?
Very good. That's a good one. Ray, you want to kick this one off?
Oh, Lions. I like Marty. He had the kind of attitude and hey, he was giving him the business.
Right.
Wasn't that Lions?
Yeah.
From the ref giving him the business.
I would say it's close, but I would agree with Ray. I'd say Marty Lyons, but very similar.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Lageman because I thought and Lageman was really the star of their line. Bird was good, and Lyons was probably at best the 3rd best on his line, and he played with Hall of Fame level players.
Yeah.
So I'll give the edge to Lageman. They're both in broadcasting now, by the way.
Well, Lageman was a defensive end, wasn't he?
He was a defensive end. Yeah, I'm kind of stretching it a little, but
what does he do? The Jaguar game?
I think he's with the Jaguars. Yeah, I think he did some commentary. Yeah.
Yeah, that's who he went to. Yeah.
All right. Anything else, Ralph, before we go back to the trivia question? We're going to wrap.
Yeah, there was, but of course it slipped my mind as usual. So,
so let's repeat because Marty is very excited. I want to answer.
I think Marty's going to get this one right.
Ray will yield to me. I want to answer the question.
I'm yielding to you.
So this question reflects the pathetic history of the New York Jets like no other question. 20 head coaches they've had, and only 2 have winning records. I was surprised. There were a couple others I thought did. Can you name the 2 who have winning records?
I put down Al Groh and Rex Ryan.
I said BP and Elk Grove.
Ray's got it. You forgot Bill Parcells.
Oh, I forgot him. Right.
Rex Ryan did not have a winning
He
record.
was.
I
he
thought
got okay early.
yeah.
I was
I
so
thought I
excited.
thought Herm Edwards, 3 years, 3 out of 5 years he was in the playoffs and he still didn't. And
Right.
Mangini, 2 out of 3 years had a winning record, but they both had a 4-12
Right.
stinker that
Right.
threw their numbers off.
That's a great question.
It's great and painful.
It is. So, all right, we're gonna wrap it up this episode, and make sure you give us a 5-star review if you can, and if give us a thumbs up, especially if you watch our YouTube channel at Schupak Sports. It's a big channel, and that's it. We're gonna wrap it up for Ray Clifford and Marty Schupak and Ralph Schrager. Have a wonderful Father's Day to all you fathers out there, and until next time, enjoy the next, I guess, 35 or 40 games, because once training camp
Days, yeah.
starts, we're on the move. Until next time.